I was 25 years old when I died. I remember the exact second, the crunch of metal, the shatter of glass, and Julian's name still wet on my lips. I had been on my way to tell him I knew. About the files. About Claire. About everything. I never made it. Now I was 18 again. Standing in the middle of a frat party I had no memory of attending, and someone was tapping me on the shoulder. I turned around. 20-year. Old Julian Prescott smiled at me like I was the only person in the room. "You dropped this," he said. He held out a piece of paper, creased, worn, soft at the folds. A check. $5,000. Made out to Scarlett Hayes. For a wedding dress? I stared at it, at his face. At the stupid, familiar way he tucked his hair behind his ear when he was trying to be charming. My hands were shaking, but I took the check. "Thanks," I said. My voice sounded like someone else's. "Are you okay?" He tilted his head. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I almost laughed.
I have.
I'm looking at him. But I didn't say that. I folded the check into my pocket, next to the other piece of paper I hadn't checked yet. The one from my mother's jewelry box. A receipt for a blue sapphire ring. Dated 10 years ago. "Just tired," I said. "Long week." He smiled again. "Let me walk you home." No. The word came out faster than I expected. He blinked. I forced a softer tone. I'm with friends. But I'll text you tomorrow. I wouldn't. But he didn't need to know that yet. I pushed through the crowd and out the front door. The night air hitting my face like a slap. I walked 3 blocks before I stopped, leaned against a wall, and pulled out the check. $5,000 for a wedding dress. The last time I held this check, I used it to buy a white gown I was buried in. I folded it again and put it back. Then I pulled out the ring receipt, the one I'd found in my mother's old drawer an hour before the party. Before I'd understood what it meant. I ran my thumb over the faded ink. For Scarlett? When she's ready? Mom. She died 6 months after she wrote that. I tucked both papers into my coat and started walking. There were things I needed to do. A bank statement to check. A timeline to map. And Emily Carter, she wasn't dying tonight. One thing death teaches you, money is never just money. The next morning, I stood in front of the campus bank branch at 8:47 a.m., waiting for the doors to open. The autumn sun was thin and pale, and I was still wearing the same coat from last night because I hadn't slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the crash, the glass, the smell of gasoline. So I didn't close them. I pulled out the thick manila envelope I'd found in my dorm room closet at 4 a.m., the one I'd kept hidden behind a box of old textbooks, the one my mother's lawyer had mailed to me on my 18th birthday. Inside, a trust fund statement. $7,842. Released on my 18th birthday. Unclaimed for 2 years. I'd known about it in my past life too, but I never actually read the documents.
I signed everything Julian put in front of me.
I was too busy being in love to wonder why my fiancé's lawyer kept showing up with papers at dinner. The doors opened. I walked in. The bank teller was a middle-aged woman with reading glasses on a chain. She smiled. "How can I help you?" "I need to check on a trust fund account."
Hayes.
Scarlett Hayes. This account has a joint applicant form attached. It hasn't been filed yet, but it's ready for signature. Primary account holder, Scarlett Hayes. Joint applicant, Julian Prescott. My stomach dropped. But not filed yet. Not filed. The words were the difference between 2 years of freedom and a lifetime of being trapped. Can I remove that application? Well, the application hasn't been processed, so technically, then remove it. I'd need to speak with the other party. No. I opened this account alone. I filed the application alone. I'm removing it alone. She studied me for a moment. Then she nodded. I'll need a signature. I signed the form, my hand steady. She printed a new receipt. New account, Scarlett Hayes. No joint applicants. Growth, I said. Aggressive. She hesitated. That's unusual. For a student, I know what I'm doing. I wasn't investing to get rich. I was investing to never need anyone's permission to walk away. By 9:30, I was back outside with a new balance and a cleared name. The joint application would sit in an unprocessed file until someone noticed it was gone. I bought a coffee from a cart on the corner, sat on a bench, pulled out the envelope with the ring receipt, the trust papers, and the $5,000 check. I lined them up on the bench. Receipt, check, statement. 3 pieces of paper. 3 threads I could pull. I folded them back into my coat. The walk back to campus was quiet. The trees were turning orange at the tips. I passed the library, the art building, the lawn where students were lying on blankets, pretending finals didn't exist. Normal. Everything looked so normal. And Emily Carter, she wasn't dying tonight. I said it out loud. A woman walking past looked at me. I didn't care. I had 7 years. I had a plan. And I had one very specific piece of paper I was going to use as the first stone in an avalanche. The check. I pulled it out one more time and looked at the handwriting. For a wedding dress. No. Not this time. I left the bank and crossed the main square toward the law school, not because I had any business there, because I knew her schedule. In my past life, I'd never paid attention to Claire Whitmore's routine. She was just Julian's law school friend. I knew better now. She always walked through the main square between 9:45 and 10:00 because she stopped at the same coffee cart. It was 9:52. I slowed my pace. The coffee cart came into view. So did she. She finished her transaction, turned, and we collided. Her coffee cup tipped. I caught it before it fell. She looked up. Her eyes cool, gray. Assessing ran across my face in a fraction of a second. The same look I'd seen her give documents she was about to sign. No. My fault. I wasn't watching where I was going. She took the cup from my hand. Her fingers brushed mine. Then she stepped around me. She pulled out her phone and started talking, her voice light, professional. I stood there for a moment, letting the encounter settle. She didn't recognize me. Why would she? In her timeline, I was still just a freshman. I walked in the opposite direction, toward the parking lot behind the law school. I wanted to see if my memory of another detail held up. A black sedan was parked in the faculty lot, 3rd row from the back. I knew that car, Victor Prescott's car. It wasn't Victor sitting in the driver's seat. It was Julian.
Alone.
Both hands on the wheel, staring straight ahead. I stopped behind a campus shuttle bus, far enough to be invisible, close enough to see his face. He looked younger than I remembered. Softer. The sharp edges of the man who signed my death certificate hadn't hardened yet. But they were there. I could see them in the way his jaw tightened when he checked his watch. His phone lit up. He picked it up, read something, and his expression shifted. A small, private smile. Not because it was cruel, because it was warm. I turned and walked away before he could look up. That night,
In my dorm room.
I opened a fresh notebook. I wrote a single line across the top of the first page. Things I know that they don't know I know. 1. Claire Whitmore takes her coffee black, with 1 sugar. 2. Julian Prescott has his father's car. But not his nerve. Not yet. 3. The $7,842 in my account is the only money in this world that doesn't have a Prescott attached to it. I closed the notebook and slid it under my mattress. Someone knocked on the door. It was Madison. Party at the art building. You coming? I almost said no. Then I remembered. This time, I was wearing sweatpants and a plan. The art building party was exactly as I remembered it. Too loud, too crowded, and smelling like cheap beer and expensive perfume. I stayed near the wall, watching. I saw Julian walk in with 2 friends I didn't recognize. I saw Claire arrive 20 minutes later, carrying the same leather tote, and disappear into a side room. I saw Victor Prescott's driver drop off an envelope at the door, an envelope that found its way to Julian's hand. I saw Emily Carter. She was standing by the snack table, alone, holding a plastic cup of soda she hadn't touched. In my past life, I'd known her by name for exactly 1 semester. We sat next to each other in Statistics 101. She was quiet, smart, and unreasonably kind. 3 weeks after that party, she died. Single. Car collision on the highway? Julian Prescott was the first person at the scene. The unofficial version whispered at her funeral was different. Someone saw Julian Prescott's car near her dorm that night. I walked over. You're Emily, right? We sit next to each other in Stats. Her face softened.
Oh yeah.
Scarlett, right? I picked up a napkin from the table, folded it once, twice, then put it down. Are you driving to the county trip next weekend? Take the bus instead. I know. I smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. But will you? She held my gaze for a long moment. Okay.
I guess I can take the bus.
I turned and walked away before she could ask questions I wasn't ready to answer. I found Julian near the back of the room. He was talking to an older man, gray at the temples, in a suit that cost more than my semester tuition. Julian saw me and smiled. Scarlett.
I was looking for you.
Found me. The associate shook my hand. Lovely to meet you. Victor speaks highly of you. I smiled, nodded, played the part. But my mind was on Emily Carter. On her car. On the bus I'd asked her to take. I didn't know if I'd changed anything.
I didn't know if her death was connected to Julian.
But I knew one thing in my past life. I did nothing, this time. I did something. That counted. The county trip was 3 days of hiking trails, campfire stories, and students pretending they didn't have exams waiting for them at home. I spent most of it watching. Emily took the bus. I saw her step off the yellow school bus on Friday afternoon, backpack slung over one shoulder. She was here. Alive. Unharmed. The first night, I stayed close to the campfire. Julian showed up late, alone, and sat on a log across from me. He smiled when he saw me. I smiled back. Neither of us moved closer. Around midnight, people started drifting to their cabins. I stayed by the fire until only a few people were left, a group playing cards, someone strumming a guitar. And Julian? He stood up and stretched. Long day. You heading in? Soon. He nodded and walked toward the cabin row. I watched his path. He didn't go straight to his cabin. He took a detour, a sharp left toward the parking lot. I waited 10 seconds. Then I followed. The parking lot was dark, lit by a single lamp near the entrance. Julian's car was parked near the back. He wasn't in it. He was standing by the driver's side of another car, a blue hatchback I recognized. Emily's car. He had a phone in one hand, the screen lighting up his face. He wasn't looking at the phone. He was looking at the car's front tire. He crouched, ran his hand along the edge of the tire. He stood up, patted his pockets, walked away. The way he looked at that tire, the same way I'd seen him look at documents before signing them, made my blood run cold. I walked to Emily's car, crouched where he'd crouched. The tire was fine, no slash, no leak, nothing visible. But I didn't trust it. I pulled out my phone. Madison? Scarlett? It's midnight. Does anyone we trust? A pause. My cousin's boyfriend drives a truck.
Why?
I looked at Emily's blue hatchback. I need someone to move a car. The next morning, Emily's car was parked in front of the main lodge. Keys in the office. Julian walked past the parking lot on his way to breakfast. He stopped, stared at the empty space where Emily's car had been. He turned and looked around. I was standing at the lodge window, coffee in hand. Our eyes met for 1 second. Then I looked down at my cup, and he walked inside. His full name was Cole Beckett, and he sat in the same corner of the university library every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon. Table 7. 3rd floor. Facing the window. The stack of books was so high the librarian had once left a note asking him to reconsider the fire hazard. I'd never spoken to him in my past life. I knew him by silhouette, the guy who never went to parties, who typed like he was trying to punish the keyboard. I'd seen the cover page of his research once on the printer, Prescott Industries, a history of acquisitions under market value. I walked to table 7 on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. He didn't look up. Cole Beckett? He kept typing. I sat down across from him. He stopped, looked at me over the top of his laptop. His eyes were the color of old pennies, tired, sharp, suspicious. Who are you? Scarlett Hayes.
Never heard of you.
You will. I slid a manila folder across the table. Inside, 3 documents from my father's home office.
Prescott?
Related transactions. He looked at the folder. Then at me? Then back at the folder. He opened it. For 2 minutes, he said nothing. He read, turned pages. Read again. His face didn't change, not once. The one Prescott's been buying up.
You know about that.
Everyone knows about that. Most people just don't care. I care. He leaned back, studied me the way Claire had studied me, but slower. Like he was reading a document with missing pages.
Why?
I had prepared an answer for this.
Something clean.
Something that sounded true without being true. Because if I don't stop them, they'll kill me. The words hung in the air between us. I hadn't meant to say that. Not out loud. Not to a stranger. Cole stared at me for a long moment. Then he stood up, grabbed his bag, and walked to the end of the aisle. He stopped at the shelf, pulled down a book I couldn't see the title of, and flipped through it. Without turning around, he said, "That run in Prescott had with a construction union in 2008. I found a witness. She's willing to talk, but she won't come to campus. Can you get to the city this weekend?" Yes. Then meet me at the South Bus Terminal.
Saturday?
9 a.m. He put the book back, grabbed his bag, and walked past me without another word. I sat alone at table 7 for a long time. The folder was still open. The documents were still there. I closed it, folded my hands on top. I just made an ally, I thought, or a mistake, or both. The Saturday meeting happened. Diane Mears was real, a retired union worker with dates and a story. We talked for 3 hours at a yellow-lit diner. Cole didn't say goodbye when I left. He just nodded once and walked in the opposite direction. I didn't see him for 4 days. Tuesday came and went. His usual table at the library was empty. Wednesday, same. Thursday morning. I walked past table 7 3 times. Nothing. Then Thursday night, at 11:47 p.m. My phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Library. Back corner. Basement floor. Now. The basement of the main library was a graveyard of old periodicals and broken microfilm machines. The lights flickered on a motion sensor that took too long to turn on and cut out too fast. I found Cole at a table tucked between 2 ceiling-high shelves, his laptop screen the only light in the aisle. He didn't look up when I sat down. Then he turned the screen toward me. On it was a spreadsheet. Rows and rows of numbers, dates, account codes. This is the transfer record. The shell company. It's registered offshore. But the paper trail ends here. Prescott Legal Team. Dated 3 months before the construction union acquisition.
What's the total?
Just over $2 million. Moved in 4 transfers. I leaned back. This isn't public record.
No.
Where did you get it? He didn't answer. Then don't ask where I got my sources. And don't tell me where you got yours. I give you what I find. You give me what you have from Hayes Group.
We don't share names.
We don't share motives. We share information. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. Deal. He held out his hand. I shook it. His grip was quick, dry, professional. Friday midnight. Same place. He turned to leave. Then stopped. How did you know I was looking into Prescott? The question was curious, not suspicious. I saw a cover page on the printer. A year ago. Prescott Industries, a history of acquisitions under market value. I remembered it. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he nodded once. Good memory. And he was gone. I sat alone in the dark, listening to the hum of the old building. Trust,
I was learning?
was not the same thing as alliance. But it was close enough to start. I sat in the office of Derek Voss, financial advisor, on a Wednesday afternoon 3 weeks after the bus terminal meeting. He was young, maybe 29, with a tie he'd loosened at 3 p.m. and the earnest energy of someone too new to be cynical. He looked at my trust fund statement, then at the investment form. Scarlett, this portfolio is aggressive. I know. Like, unusually aggressive for a college sophomore. I know. He pushed his glasses up. Can I ask why? I had prepared a lie for this. Something about an economics elective. Let's just say I have a hunch about a few sectors. A hunch. Educated hunch. He exhaled, shook his head. Then he signed the form. The money went into 2 funds, tech growth and infrastructure recovery. I knew from 7 years of future I'd already lived that both would spike before I graduated. The transfer confirmation came through at 4:17 p.m. My phone buzzed. Investment portfolio activated. Initial deposit, $4,200. It wasn't life changing. But it was mine, not Julian's, not Victor's, not my father's. I was walking back to the dorm when the second notification came. Security notice, account activity flag, a login from an unrecognized device was detected. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk. I pulled up the login history. 3 entries. My phone. My laptop. An IP address I didn't recognize. Unknown. Location. City center. Not Julian. He wouldn't use an unknown device. Not Victor. He'd have someone do it for him. I sat down on a bench and stared at the notification until the sun started to set. Someone was watching. I didn't know who, but they'd found my money before I'd even finished moving it. I closed the app, put the phone in my pocket, and kept walking. Running was what prey did. I was done being prey. Julian called on a Thursday. There's a place I want to take you. Saturday. Nothing fancy, just dinner. The same words, the same tone. I'd heard them before, 7 years from now. I said yes. Saturday evening, I stood in front of my closet. I remembered what I'd worn the first time, a red dress he'd bought me. One, he said, made me look like I belonged in his world. I pulled on jeans and a black sweater. He picked me up at 7. His car was clean. New. The interior still smelling like the dealership. He held the door. I let him. The restaurant was mid-tier Italian. Fake candles. A wine list with 2 options. We sat down. He ordered without asking what I wanted. In my past life, I found that charming. Aren't you going to ask? He blinked. Sorry, force of habit.
What do you want?
I ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. He didn't notice. He talked about his classes, his father's upcoming business trip, a weekend trip to the coast he was planning. Inside, I was counting. You're quiet tonight, he said.
I'm thinking.
About? Whether I want to go to the coast with you? I'll think about it. I already decided.
I wasn't going.
Julian reached across the table and touched my hand. I let him, but I didn't touch back. The drive home was quiet. He parked outside my dorm and killed the engine. I'm glad we did this. Me too. I know we're not official, but I'd like to keep seeing you, if you want. In my past life, I kissed him. I said yes. I went inside floating. This time, I smiled. Let's see how the coast trip goes. I walked into my dorm, closed the door, and leaned against it. My heart wasn't racing. My hands weren't shaking. I felt nothing. That was worse than anger. She died in the crash. I was someone else now. I started watching Claire Whitmore's schedule the way I used to study for exams, obsessively, quietly, with margins full of notes. She left the legal aid clinic at 5:15 p.m. Every Tuesday and Thursday. She never locked her office door between noon and 2. It took Claire exactly 4 minutes to walk to the break room and back. I had a window of 4 minutes. Thursday, 1:07 p.m. I watched her walk past the reception desk, empty mug in hand, and turn right toward the break room. I counted to 10, then walked into the law building with my backpack slung low and my face down. The hallway was empty. Her office was third on the left. The door was closed, but not locked. I'd watched her pull it shut without turning the key. The office was small. A desk, a filing cabinet, a bookshelf with law textbooks and a single framed photo. I started with the desk. Top drawer, office supplies. Second drawer, Personal files, nothing useful. Third drawer, locked. I checked the filing cabinet. Unlocked. Client files. Case notes, correspondence. I flipped through quickly, scanning for Prescott. Nothing. Then I saw it. A folded piece of paper wedged between the cabinet and the wall, as if it had fallen and been forgotten. VC meeting, final review, Octave 14. Bring the draft. October 14. The crash happened on Oct 17. I took out my phone and photographed the note, both sides. Then I put it back exactly where I'd found it. I heard footsteps in the hallway. I grabbed a random folder from the top of her desk and sat in her chair. When Claire walked in, I was holding the folder like I was lost. "Can I help you? I'm so sorry, I was looking for Professor Hartwell's office. Is this the right floor?" "Third floor, room 312. Thank you." "Sorry again." I could feel her eyes on my back the entire way down the hall. That night, I zoomed in on the photo I'd taken. The handwriting was neat, professional. The meeting was marked for Oct 14, 3 days before my death. VC, Victor's initials. I added it to my notebook. Entry 5. Claire Whitmore. Octo 14 meeting. VC, bring the draft. 5 entries now. 5 threads. The law building was dark from here. Somewhere in that building, Claire was still working. Tomorrow, I would call Cole. I wasn't closer. But I wasn't standing still. I drove home on a Friday I'd told no one about. The Hayes estate sat at the end of a private road lined with old oaks. I pulled into the driveway and sat for a moment, engine running, looking at the house I grew up in. My father's car was in the garage. His assistant's car was not. I found Ethan Hayes in the study, reading something on a tablet, a glass of whiskey on the side table. He looked up when I walked in. For a second, just a second, something flickered across his face. Not surprise, not joy, closer to recognition. "Scarlett, you didn't tell me you were coming?" "No, I didn't. I wanted to see the house. It hasn't changed."
I know.
I stood up. "I'm going to look around." He nodded, already back on his tablet. I waited until I heard his study door close. Then I moved. His office was on the 2nd floor, the door unlocked. I went straight to the bookshelf, 3rd shelf from the top, behind a row of law journals he never read. The safe was there, built into the wall. The safe had a digital keypad. I didn't have the code. I tried my mother's birthday. Incorrect. I tried his birthday. Incorrect. I tried my mother's death date. The lock clicked open. Inside, property deeds. A will updated 3 months after my mother died. A folder marked private. A list of account numbers, 10 of them. Some I recognized. Some I didn't. I photographed the entire sheet. Closed the safe. Slid the panel back. Put the books back exactly where they'd been. I walked downstairs, said goodbye to my father, and drove back to campus. That night, I sat in my dorm with the photo of the account numbers and the photo of Claire's meeting note side by side. My father had changed his will after my mother died. He had hidden a list of accounts behind her death date. I added a 6th line to my notebook, entry 6. Ethan Hayes. 10 hidden accounts. Updated will, 3 months after Mom died. 6 entries. 6 threads I was going to pull until something broke. Cole Beckett found me in the library on a Tuesday, which was unusual because he never looked for me. He sat down across from me without a word and slid his phone across the table. A screenshot. Claire Whitmore, he said. A bank statement. Not a Prescott account. A private one, opened at a different institution. Monthly deposits, each one the same amount, arriving from an offshore account. 5,000. I felt my chest tighten.
That's my dress.
This isn't just a cover up. Someone is funding her separately. The first deposit was made 6 months ago, before I'd even entered Julian's orbit. She was already being paid before I existed as a threat in her world. Can you trace the source account? I tried. It's closed. Wiped. 3 months ago, every transaction record scrubbed clean. They didn't know I was coming back, but they were preparing for something. There's another account, under a different name. He showed me a third screenshot. A name I didn't recognize. M. Hayes. There's an M in your family? No, my mother was Evelyn. My aunt was Sarah. I was pulling threads in the dark, but someone else was pulling them too. That night, I sat on my dorm room floor with the images spread across my phone screen. Claire's account. The closed source. M. Hayes? Someone in my own family, a name I didn't recognize, tied to the same money that funded Claire. I opened my notebook and added a 7th entry. 7. M. Hayes. Unknown. Same source as Claire's payments? Who? I closed the notebook and put it under my pillow. For the first time since I woke up in this timeline, I felt something I hadn't prepared for. Fear. I had spent 3 months gathering information, watching, waiting, pulling threads. It was time to cut one. I sat at my desk at midnight, a single sheet of paper in front of me. A message typed on a library computer, printed on generic paper, paid for with cash. I read it twice. This is a notification, not an invitation. I folded the paper and placed it in a plain envelope. The next morning, I took the bus to the city center.
I found a courier service that didn't check IDs.
Paid cash. The courier took the envelope. I watched him walk out the door. I sat on a bench in the park across the street and waited. Victor Prescott was a man who hated surprises, and I had just told him there was a leak he didn't know about. 3 days later, Julian called. Hey, my dad's been weird lately. Weird how? Jumpier than usual. Cancelled a meeting yesterday. Said he needed to reassess some things. Julian laughed, but it was thin. I've never seen him cancel anything. Anyway, that coast trip. Spring break. You in?
Let me check my schedule.
Let me check my schedule. Your schedule? I have exams. Spring break. No exams. Then I have plans. With who? He hung up after I didn't answer. Target 1, Victor. Shaken. Confirmed. Target 2, Julian.
Suspicious.
Proceeding with caution. 2 confirmations.
1 letter.
I looked across the room at the blue envelope from my mother's ring receipt. I was no longer just gathering threads. I was pulling them. And something was starting to move. The invitation came the way it always did through Julian, delivered like it was his idea. He wants to meet you, properly. Dinner at our place. Saturday night. Saturday, I said. What time? 7. I'll pick you up. First, I called Cole.
The Prescott dinner is Saturday.
If I don't text you by 11, call me. Call you how? Emergency. Just call. He didn't ask more. Done. I opened the envelope with my mother's ring receipt and read her handwriting again. Third, I stood in front of the mirror and said nothing. I just looked at my own face. The Prescott estate was 30 minutes outside the city. Iron gates. A long driveway lined with lights. This time. I opened the car door before he could come around to get it. Victor Prescott was waiting at the front door. Scarlett. Finally. I shook it.
Mr.
Prescott. Please, Victor. The dining room was lit with candles. Long table. Crystal glasses. Victor at the head. Julian across from me. The conversation was light.
School?
Travel. Victor asked about my father. He's doing well. Busy. Victor's eyes stayed on me a beat longer than necessary. I reached into my coat pocket and touched the edge of the ring receipt. Victor excused himself to take a call. When he came back, he was holding an envelope. A gift? For you? Aren't you going to look? Later. I didn't open it until Julian dropped me off, and I was alone in my room. A check. $500,000. Made out to Scarlett Hayes. In my past life, I had never received this check. I folded it and placed it next to my mother's ring receipt in my coat pocket. 2 pieces of paper. A promise from a dead woman and a payment from a living monster. I saw Madison twice in the week after the Prescott dinner. The first time was accidental. She was leaving the library. Phone pressed to her ear. The second time was not. Thursday night. 9:47 p.m. I was cutting through the parking lot when I saw her, standing next to a black sedan I recognized. Victor's car. The driver's door opened. Claire Whitmore stepped out. I saw Madison nod once at something Claire said. I saw Claire touch her arm. Claire got back in the car and drove away. Madison stood alone in the parking lot for a moment. Then she walked toward the dorms. I followed her. She stopped at the corner of the dormitory building, under a flickering light. She was about to unlock the side door when I said her name.
Madison.
I saw you. With Claire Whitmore. That's not what it looks like. Then tell me what it looks like. She asked me to watch you. Who asked? Victor Prescott. His assistant contacted me at the beginning of the semester. $500 a week. I needed the money. My mom's medical bills. I didn't have a choice. 2 weeks after the semester began. 2 weeks. Before I'd even finished grieving. They had already placed someone inside my orbit. Did you tell them about Cole? He was mentioned once. I didn't know his name. Claire asked me to keep an eye on your dorm. See if anyone left anything unusual. Did you? No. I never did that. I swear. Why are you telling me this now? Because I saw you tonight. Watching Claire. You know something. I'm sorry? I know that doesn't fix it. Don't talk to Claire again. If she contacts you, tell me. If I find out you're still working for them, you won't. I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. That night, I called Cole. Madison was working for Victor. A pause. I don't like that. Can you do me a favor? Look into her mother. Medical bills. I need to know if that's true. Madison had been a leak from day one. 3 months. And I had never noticed. I was learning. Cole called me on a Saturday morning. No text. No warning. Come to the basement. Now. He was sitting at the same table, laptop open. A manila folder in front of him I'd never seen before. He pushed the folder toward me. Your mother's medical records. The timing of her death didn't add up. First page. Death certificate. Cause of death. Respiratory failure. Underlying condition viral pneumonia. I turned the page. A toxicology report. Dated 2 weeks before her death. Ethylene glycol. Used in antifreeze. It causes symptoms that look like pneumonia. By the time doctors test for it, it's too late. She was poisoned. I said it before Cole could. A payment record from a private lab. Payer, Prescott Holdings. Legal department. Victor paid for the test, to make sure no one would look further. My father sitting in the corner, reading the newspaper, never touching her hand. He knew. I have a name, Dr. Alistair Vance. He signed the death certificate. Retired 6 months after. One more thing. Cole pulled up a second file.
M.
Hayes? Margaret Hayes. Age 67. Greenwood Hills Care Facility. Admitted 18 years ago. All expenses paid by a trust fund in your mother's name. She has dementia. I don't know how much she remembers, but she's the only living person who was close to your mother before she died. I drove north. The highway was empty. The whole drive I thought about my mother's face in the hospital bed, pale, tired, smiling at me like she was sorry. Greenwood Hills was quiet, clean. The kind of place where people waited. I gave my name at the front desk. Room 214. She's having a good day today. I walked down the hall, stopped at the door, knocked. A woman sat by the window, a blanket over her knees. She turned when I walked in. Her eyes were my mother's. Margaret Hayes didn't let go of my hand for a long time. You have her chin.
And her temper.
The photo album was open on her lap. Old pictures, my mother in her 20s, standing in front of a house I'd never seen. My father told me my grandmother died when I was 7. I had believed him for 18 years. Because your father made a deal, Scarlett, and I was part of the price. Ethan Hayes was struggling before the merger. The company was failing. Victor offered a way out. My mother found the papers. It wasn't a partnership. It was a sellout. She told Victor she would go to the board. She thought the truth was enough. She thought your father would back her up. He didn't. He sat in that room. He watched her die. And he never said a word. He didn't do it. No, but he let it happen. 3 men, 1 death. I asked him once, after she died. He cried. Then he told me to leave. If I ever tried to contact you, he would make sure no one ever found me. A facility paid for by my mother's trust. Her silence for my safety. Then why are you telling me now? Because you found me. Which means you're already fighting. Your mother kept copies. A safety deposit box. She told me about it the week before the hospital. Margaret named a bank, a branch, a number. She said it was for you, if anything happened. She didn't tell your father. I folded the paper and put it in my pocket, next to the ring receipt and the uncashed check. I'm going to end this. I know you are. I drove back to campus in the dark. The highway was empty. He didn't do it, but he let it happen. I was done gathering threads. It was time to pull every last one. The bank was a 6-story building in the older part of the city. I walked in at 9 a.m. on a Monday. The folded paper from Margaret in my pocket. I gave the box number to the clerk. She checked my ID. Led me to a small room with a table and a single chair. The box was smaller than I expected.
Metal.
Gray. I turned the key and lifted the lid. Inside, a folder, a flash drive, a letter in my mother's handwriting. I kept copies of everything. The acquisition draft. The resignation letter I never sent. A recording of a phone call between your father and Victor Prescott. I folded the letter and placed it next to the ring receipt. 3 pieces of paper now. A promise.
A payment?
A goodbye. I called Julian that afternoon. The fountain in the main square. 7 o'clock. I sat on the edge of the fountain. The same fountain where Julian had kissed me for the first time in my past life. I watched the water and waited. Julian arrived at 7:03. You look serious. I know about the shell company. I know about Claire's monthly payments. I know my mother was poisoned. I know your father paid the doctor. You don't understand. Then explain. He didn't. I didn't know. Not at first. Not until after we started dating. He didn't finish the sentence. I'm not going to destroy your family, Julian. Your father already did that himself. I'm just going to make sure everyone knows what it cost. I walked away. He called my name once. I didn't turn around. Victor Prescott was waiting at my dorm when I got back. I know about Cole Beckett. I know about the letter. I know you visited your grandmother. Then you know everything. I have a recording of you and my father. 2 weeks before my mother died. I already sent copies to 3 newsrooms.
To the state attorney?
To your board? The smile dropped. I'm not your daughter. I'm not your pawn. I'm not the girl who died. I stepped closer. I'm the one who survived. I walked into my dorm. He didn't follow. The news broke the next morning. I sat in my room, phone off, watching notifications pile up. I didn't open any of them. At noon, I walked to the main square one last time. The fountain was still running. The water was still clear. I sat down and took out my mother's ring. The blue sapphire. I slipped it onto my finger. It fit. The ring that had been waiting for me my whole life. I stood up, left the fountain behind, and walked into a future I had chosen for myself.